So, hi everybody. This is International Women's Day 2026, and my name is Steph Unthank-Latter. Yes, a little round of applause for us for. My name's Steph Unthank-Latter, and I'm here today with three of my wonderful colleagues and friends to talk about the theme of International Women's Day, Givers Gain. So we're going to start by just introducing ourselves. I think, firstly, for those that are maybe watching this back off of one of my social media pages, I would imagine you are because you might know me a little bit. So you'll know that the main things that I spend time doing is I'm an employee wellbeing consultant, I'm a charity director, and I am an author. And I live in Ashford in Kent, and yeah, just love spending my time outdoors in nature, doing lots of things to keep me active and fit. And I'm about to be 51 in May. So I'll hand over to the other three
Hey,
Good for
beauties. I
you.
know, I
hey.
know. Thank you. Laura, do you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura. I'm very privileged to be here today to celebrate International Women's Day with the three of you. I'm the chief exec of Citizens Advice Charity. The whole of my background has been in voluntary and charity sector, mainly working with people with disabilities, and for the last 10 years has been chief exec of my charity, working in communities, often with the most marginalised and underrepresented groups. So it's what gets me up in the day. What else gets me up in the day? If you hear a twang, if I get really passionate, it's because I'm Welsh. So I live in Birmingham, but I'm Welsh by background. And at the moment, I'm exploring kind of reconnecting with meditation and Qigong and trying to kind of practice more mindful well-being in 2026 for myself.
Very
So that's
nice.
me.
Thanks, Laura. Brilliant. How about you, Lauren?
Hello. So thanks for having me. I am Lauren. I'm a mum, first of all, and I am a in-person personal trainer, also do online fitness, and I host events and everything I kind of do, it's all women. So anything I've kind of done when I've used like photographers or I've got my own podcast, everything is always women around who I can get involved with women wise. So yeah, I just think women are a lot stronger than they think they are, and that's kind of my job to basically build them up and make sure and I'm very passionate about being active and strengthen women, and we have a lot more than what people think basically.
Yeah, a lot more in the locker. Yeah,
Yes,
brilliant.
100%.
Definitely. Thanks, Lauren. And Claire.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Claire. Yeah, lots overlaps with what you guys were just saying. So I guess what's kind of going on with me at the moment. So I've just turned 40, like last week. So I'm like, oh, that's a big thing. I have two young children. So being a mum is a big part of my identity. And yeah, I was a teacher, had to leave that recently due to having children. So that was kind of a bit of a seismic shift in the professional life. But I've now kind of started something of my own, still teaching, so tutoring, examining, that kind of thing. So that I guess the last sort of 5 years for me has been quite significant, and that's uh, made lots of sort of things that I think we're probably going to think about and talk about around International Women's Day really relevant. Yeah, so I guess that's kind of the big things for me at the moment.
Yeah, thanks so much, girls. Really, really appreciate that. Good. All right. So there's our introductions for everybody. And I just want to say to all three of you, thanks very much for being here. I think it's always a brilliant opportunity, whether it's something like this to mark this kind of event or anything else, really, any other moment that arises around opportunity to talk about what we do, how we do it, our struggles, the way that we get through it, the way that we cope, and to really highlight the importance of women actually in our society. So yeah, really appreciate you being here. So we've decided to use our time today on this podcast to talk about two things. The first one is just to maybe focus in a little bit, zoom in a little bit on the women in our lives that we feel might have inspired us in some way. And then secondly, to look at the theme of International Women's Day 2026, which, as I said at the beginning, is givers gain, givers gain. So yeah, maybe we can kick the ball around a little bit on the women that inspire us. And I have to say, I didn't just use that pun by mistake.
Ah.
Because I was going to say, there's three women that come to mind for me, girls, and I'll say them in order of my pun. But the first one, which is a popular name, is Serena Wiegmann. I find her hugely, hugely awe-inspiring. I've followed her since she was the England captain for the England women's football team, and I just think that she has this like calm composure and strength. You know, when she walks out onto that
Massively.
pitch, yeah,
Yeah.
she walks out onto that pitch with those girls, and she's an absolute role model. And she just remains so composed, so calm throughout the play, but also in the interviews afterwards. And the moment that really stands in my mind is when they won the cup last year, and I don't know if you remember, but they were up against Spain, and it could have been anybody's game, anybody's, because it went to penalties. And on the penalties, it was the draw, and it was like whoever got the next one was going to win that cup.
Mm.
And I remember thinking to myself, if England had lost that day, Serena's composure would not have changed. She would have been exactly the same. She would have said to them girls, it could have been anybody's game. You haven't actually lost, because how can you lose on one penalty in a match like that? Yeah, there has to be a winner, but she would have been still so composed. And I compared her behaviour to, I have to say it, the manager of Spain. And what you saw in the Spanish players, bless their little hearts, I did feel for them, was their head down. You know, they didn't look proud of their play whatsoever. And the face of the Spanish manager just kind of said it all. And I just thought, God, they're so contrasted as leaders. So yeah, so she really stands out for me. And then really briefly, the other two, one has to be my mum. I've got to be honest. My mum is a mother of four. She was married really young. She got divorced really young. She's got two boys from the first marriage, two girls from the second. One of them's me, obviously. And she had a really tough time. She had a really tough life. She lost her mum at 25. She was caught up in the Brixton riots at a really young age. She's worked all of her life, and now she's 76 and thriving. And I just think, God, you know, I look at her and I think, it's your time, mum. It's your time. And it's might have taken you to get to your 70s, but now this is your time. And then I feel like I'm taking the space, but there is one other person I have to mention, and it's my Sam, my wife, Sam. She's just awesome. I think, you know, I look at her and I just think she's the absolute epitome of how somebody can shift from caterpillar to butterfly.
Oh, that's so
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, just from her 40s, really. She's just really grown into herself. She's so confident. You know, she's confident, she's self-aware, she's just a very compelling woman, you know. And I look at her and I said to her today, like, Jesus, you are owning it at the moment. Like, she's just owning it. So yeah, I think to any woman in their 40s, and Claire just said, like, just turned 40 as well, but to any woman in their 40s, like, these are the best years. And I think as you get closer to your 50s, you just get stronger and more confident.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for that space.
And isn't that so important that you told her that? Like,
God,
that's
yeah.
missing a lot of the time, isn't it? And that you told her that. And that's a bit like what's Serena, you can tell she did that to the players as well. Like, because you can tell by the way people like Leah Williamson speak, like
Yeah.
how calm she is. And it's like, I don't know, it's been passed on, and their composure's really apparent as well, isn't it? Like, they've got it together, and that's so important. I think that's why they're so successful.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, thanks for that.
No,
Cheers.
I
Well,
think that's lovely.
You go. Go on, Laura. Carry on.
Oh, Claire, yeah, I'll go.
Go for it. Go for it.
Go for it. Okay. So, I really struggle to think of one person. There's lots of awesome
Yeah, so
people
did I.
that I know. So I thought, well, if this is being recorded, Steph can't shout at me for not choosing one person, can she? So,
No, definitely not. And I just chose three, obviously. So
get that
exactly.
Exactly. So I suppose I wanted to reflect. I had the absolute privilege, which is a group of women that's changed my life and changed me personally. Back in 2013, I gave up my job as a director in a national charity working with people with learning disabilities and autism, and went over to Romania with a UK-based charity working in psychiatric institutions dealing with human rights abuses. And I had the most incredible life-changing experience of living in Transylvania for 2.5 years in the most poorest, one of the most kind of poorest towns in Transylvania, and working really closely with on wards in a psychiatric institution that homed around 200 psychiatric patients. Of about 120 of those were women. And if you know, the way in which the UK have treated people with mental health issues and disabilities over the years, and arguably still do, you know, is no different to what Romania was doing. So we're not perfect, but because of communism, we're about 40 years ahead in terms of the legislation and how we engage with people. And I spent with volunteers 2.5 years working on wards and trying to kind of improve the lives and the quality of life for people. And I've thought a lot today. I went for a walk earlier, and I thought a lot about these women because the circumstances in which they were incarcerated were horrific. If you can imagine a broken down old building, sanitation really poor, women 2 or 3 people to a bed, locked away for months on end and not experiencing sunlight, same food day in, day out, no sanitary wear, no clothing. And I got the opportunity through the relationship that the charity had built up with the institute, this particular institution over 20 years, to be able to take those women out within the grounds of the institution and do kind of therapeutic work with them. And some of that was just about enabling them to recapture some of their lost identity. And a lot of those women that were incarcerated had been in that institution for 10, 15, 20, 30 years under the communist regime, where actually they were incarcerated either because they got pregnant outside of wedlock, or because they were against the communist regime, or because they were gay. As well as having learning disabilities. And over that time, the women had become very, very unwell, as you can imagine. What was the most incredible, humbling experience of my life is that these women looked after one another on this ward, and the spectrum of people, from some women with very profound learning disabilities kept in a cell with a hole in the toilet, a hole in the floor as a toilet, and were very rarely let out, through to women who could speak 5 different languages and that were teachers and nurses, and very, very intelligent and eloquent. And they all looked after each other on the ward. So if one was sick, they would all rally round. The patients died in their arms. If one person was upset, the others would kind of rally round. And regardless of the system, the institution, and the wider societal views of mental health and disability, those women never lost who they were. What I found most touching when I was working with them was their care of me. And that really was a really difficult experience to have, because I got to leave the institution every day, go home, have a glass of wine, be able to reconnect with the wider world and do lots of pleasurable things. And they couldn't, and I used to wave to them through the bars in the windows as I left the institution. And if I was unwell and turning up and I had a cold, or if they worried about me, they rallied round for me. And these are women that had nothing,
Yeah.
and yet still the most strongest, courageous, loving 120 women I know that I will ever meet in the circumstances of which I don't think I could have survived. And it was survival on a day-to-day basis. So when I was kind of thinking about those women, and the things that they gave me, and I think about them all the time, and I revisited every year and saw them up until the pandemic. I was kind of thinking about lots of other women across the world that are currently incarcerated or subjugated or abused. And that continues across the world. But I suppose I just wanted to hold them in my heart today on International Women's Day. They don't know, and they will never get the opportunity to kind of see this. But very much today, they've been in my thoughts, and what they gave me has changed me for the rest of my life. So they are
Laura,
the
stunning.
inspiration.
Yeah, that's unreal.
You can tell as well, just the way you talk about it, how much it's really impacted you,
Oh,
how much you still really carry in terms of that experience. Because when people are able to articulate that story in the way that you just have, you know, it's like so deeply ingrained in your heart and your memory, you know. So that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that with us.
absolutely. No,
Yeah,
no, and as I say, it was an absolute privilege when we're talking about gaining. You know, it was
yeah,
hard work,
yeah,
and you know, I had my own mental health struggles as a consequence because it
yeah,
was traumatic,
yeah,
especially
yeah,
with the
yeah,
abuses that they were experiencing on a day by day basis. But they gave back tenfold,
yeah.
and I was very
Amazing.
lucky to have met them.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks so much.
Mm.
Go on then, Claire. Tell us a bit about your inspiration.
Oh, it's hard to follow
It is
that.
hard.
Um, yeah, oh, it's I found it tricky as well to think about one person, one woman, really. I guess a bit like you were saying, Steph, I've got kind of people immediately around me. Like when I thought about the kind of closest circle, I thought about my nan, and how much, a bit like you were saying with your mum, kind of what she's been through. Well, both my grandmothers, really. I've got one with me still, which I'm blessed. She's turned 92.
Wow.
That's
So
amazing.
she's doing amazingly, but her life has been a challenge, you know, kind of tragedy and trauma early on.
Yeah,
And that, so it's kind of, you know, knowing that that's part of her past and still what she has achieved and kind of what she's taught me and shared, and that kind of, you know, the real family unit that she's built up is so impressive. You know, a bit like we've said, like, I don't know how I would have coped in her shoes. It's that sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, but then, you know, I guess sort of on a wider level, I feel like what I quite like at the moment is how it's being. I don't really know where this has come from. I guess it is kind of an International Women's Day thing, but it just seems to be that we are getting more in the habit of celebrating women and what they achieve, and it's kind of being normalized that they're to kind of be respected and noticed as much as men. Um, and I was thinking, I wanted to pick someone. Sorry, I will get there. I wanted to pick somebody. I know,
you take your time,
because
love.
yeah, yeah, no, I will. I
I
will.
mean,
Yeah,
I'm
'cause I was
hanging on
thinking,
every word. I'm like,
because I was thinking Serena Regan, because I'm reading her autobiography at
Oh,
the moment. Yeah. And
Oh, wow.
I just, as you were talking about it, I was thinking about the title, because she wrote it like intending to teach people, probably women, about, because it's called, what is it called? Like my oh, I don't like my lesson to something. I don't know, I've forgotten the title. Sorry, I've ruined that. No, but anyway, my woman is Giselle Peleco, because I was listening to her. I made a point of re-listening to her interview this morning following the trial last year. It wasn't it,
yep,
2025? And just so many things kind of came back to me about the way that she's sort of been this I don't know. I think, Steph, I got this metaphor from you, like the stick in the sand, you know, where she's kind of held firm
yeah,
despite everything that's kind of been thrown at her, you know, and how many times she could have been, well, just kind of swept away by it all. You know, the whole kind of like waiving her legal right to anonymity
yep,
and
absolutely.
openly talking about rape and not normalizing it. That's the wrong thing to say, isn't it? But just the way that I really, and again, like, I don't like it, but I respected the way that she made it her mission, didn't she, to change the side of shame.
yeah,
um and how it was like, you know, she was just kind of owning this whole thing about like, I'm not going to feel shame for this. This is the wrong person, I'm the wrong person, that and I shouldn't feel ashamed of this happening to me.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, and I kind of re-listened to that because I thought that's quite important. And she was talking about the way that she was inspired by women during the trial, because they would turn up and there would be more every day cheering her on, and that got her through each day.
yeah,
And yeah, there's just like this whole kind of thing, isn't there, where teams of women come out when it's really necessary, I think.
yeah,
And that's quite important. And I think at the moment, for me, it would be her.
yeah. The Serena Beadman book is called What It Takes. I just had a quick look because there'll be people listening to this going, what's the book
Yeah,
called then?
sorry. Yeah.
No, that's all right. That's all right. And you know what? It's funny because when you were talking about the story that you just told, if you don't mind me just commenting, it's two very different planes, right? But one of the things that I was going to say about my mum earlier, and I didn't say it, is that even though it's hard, you still do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and that's the story about the person that you just talked about. And I think it's almost like it was a really difficult journey for her, but that didn't stop her.
Yeah.
It was going to feel like it was shameful, but it didn't stop her. She did it all for the right reasons, because it was about her integrity and her doing the right thing, even though it probably would have been the hardest thing ever to do what she's done. Yeah,
undoubtedly. And also she said that she did it for other women as well, because
exactly. Yeah,
I think because she knew, because she could recognize how she felt and the shame, she was like, well, other women must be feeling like this, of course they are, like, you know. And it was, you know, and not that we don't compare kind of one experience to another, but I think she was thinking, if I can do it, then hopefully anyone can do it, you know.
Yeah,
an incredible role model.
Absolutely. And what a story! What a story!
Yeah,
what a story! I mean, massively big thanks to her for doing what she's done, because she's completely changed the narrative. Like, for a lot of women, and changed the future for a lot of women that find themselves in those absolutely god awful situations. She's completely changed that landscape, hasn't she? Yeah.
I mean, the way she talked about it, she said, like, you know, it was like going to hell every day. Like, the more she learned, because obviously she was unaware, wasn't she? God. And it was like this hellish experience every day. And she put herself through it for other women, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, actually, because there's something else I'll mention really quickly that's just come up. But Laura and I have had this conversation a few times, and I think I have with you as well, Claire, but where I talk about, you know, it's not about if I could relive the past. It's not about that, right? But this is coming more from a place of that I got to 50 last year, and I work with a lot of young women that are in their 30s and their late 20s, and I see how they are, you know, the lacking in confidence, the low self-esteem, and you look at them and you think, make the mistakes now, because it's really worth it. Like, put your head above the parapet, be courageous, say the things that make you feel really vulnerable and awkward, because I tell you, you will look back at your younger self and thank yourself for doing it. Like, don't sit in silence, don't suffer, because your life will be so much more fruitful and better for it, you know. And I suppose it sounds like when I say that out loud, I feel like I'm just like a 50-year-old woman that's saying, yeah, you know, good for you because you've got there and you've done it. But actually, I look back and I do think, like, if somebody had told me that in my 30s, I hope that I would have listened. I hope that I would have listened. But anyway, Lauren, over to you, love.
Thanks very much. I feel like mine's quite, I want to say cliche, but it is actually my daughter. She is my biggest inspiration. And I know I'm obviously well ahead of her, and I won't delve in too much detail, because it's, you know, I'm not going to come and like talk about all my trauma and stuff. But basically, when I was so I've got a son as well, but my daughter's 6. So I was with their dad, obviously, and we had quite I want to say, like, there was a lot of emotional abuse. So I had her, and got to a point where I was like, if someone treated her like this, how would I react? And that was kind of the wake up call I needed to be like, I need to get out of this.
Wow.
And I was obviously, I mean, I did stay for another 2 years, but I knew as soon as she was born, I knew. And I feel like, sorry, I feel like I'm going to get emotional.
It's all right. It's all right, babe.
And I feel like,
just take a second.
Sorry.
Honestly, Lauren, take a second.
I'm also during my period, guys, so
I know.
I'm emotional.
I'll put it out there. perimenopause. I've actually cried thinking about the women in Romania all day.
Yeah,
And I've got toilet roll just in case. So,
oh,
Laura,
good for you.
never apologize.
Oh,
Showing emotion is a sign of strength.
Yes, it is. It
yeah,
is. It
That's the
is.
whole point. That's
absolutely.
womanhood, isn't it? So,
Yeah, and I was obviously in a
Take your
position
time.
where I had children, so I was on maternity leave. I wasn't earning any money, and that pushed me to start my business. Um, yeah, and now I work with a lot of mums who are, I don't want to say similar situations, but there are so many unhappy people out there. And my business, like, yes, this fitness is first, but that's kind of what it is, right? That's kind of how I sell my business. It's, you know, before and after, I'm going to help you
Yeah,
do this, X, Y, and Z. But the stories that you hear and the kind of processes they go through, and just by showing up and doing something for them in terms of exercise is so powerful, like the confidence that they gain from that. Yeah, and I remember him saying to me, I remember saying when I was going to leave, and I mean, I hope he probably would never listen to this, but is I remember him saying that I was picking the easy option to leave. And I remember thinking, it's so much harder for me to do this than, like, you have no idea as a man, you know, who is able to just turn up to work every day. You're going to keep your house, you're going to keep your car. Like, this is a big step for me. I'm going to have 2 young children, no money. So yeah, she is my inspiration, because I think if it wasn't for her, I definitely wouldn't be where I am
wow.
now, basically. Yeah.
wow.
And
Wow.
she is, I don't know her that well, but that kid is a beaut, Lauren.
She is so
I
strong-willed
can't
and
wait to get to know
powerful.
her a little bit more
Yeah,
over
she's
the
got
next
no
week when we're
fear. I
together.
absolutely
But
love it.
I've met her a few times at like family gatherings, and she's an absolute, she's just a little gem. There's
Yeah.
something about her as well. You know, when you look at a kid and you think that she's just got this real character, this real
Yeah, she
character.
has. Yeah, she's
And
great.
she's a little ball of energy. So I can really see that. I can
I'm
really
Yeah.
see
sure
that in
in
you.
kind of 10,
Yeah.
15 years, she'll be talking about you, Lauren, because you took
Yeah.
the hardest decision, and you're going to be the role model that your
Yeah,
daughter will say you were
she actually
actually.
says to me as well, if I say to her, what do you want to do when you grow up? She's like, I want to be a mum and a boss. And I'm like, my work here is done.
Well, you
But that's the
know,
other thing as well. I feel like, you know, when you become a mum, I do think there is quite a bit of a stereotype. You know, people just kind of think, oh, you're a mum and you kind of lose yourself, and that's all you kind of do. And that really frustrates me, because I'm like, it's one of the hardest jobs in the world. Like, it shouldn't be like, oh, you're a mum. And especially when you become a single mum, like, what comes with that, it's just straight away people, they do just kind of judge and just stereotype and think, I don't know what they think, but you know, it is, yeah, I do think becoming a mum is a lot more, I don't know, it just opens your eyes a lot to a lot of different things, and you kind of see the world differently and think, actually, yeah, this is, yeah.
What's
yeah.
interesting with the patients that I got to know is that most of them were mums, and they hadn't seen their children since they were sectioned. Well, I say sectioned, there wasn't that process, just locked away and not allowed to leave is what it was. Um, and so they didn't have they didn't know what their children had grown up to be and to do, and that kind of stigma. So I think being a mum is absolutely something to celebrate and to acknowledge that it is the hardest. I mean, I'm not a parent. I love children, but I don't have children. But I have colleagues and I have friends.
Mm.
And what you do in terms of juggling and being a career woman and being a great friend and a great partner and all the other things in between is phenomenal. I think it's really interesting in terms of do you tell your friends that you love them? Do you say I love you to friends? Because I do that,
Yeah, I do. I
and
do.
my friends tell me that back. And we're really, really close. And it's something that I know my mum has said, what do you mean you tell your friends you love them? Or other people, and certainly my male friends, certainly wouldn't tell each other that they love them. But I
Mm.
kind of wondered how that language is used beyond the platonic, beyond the kind of the romantic
Family.
relationships.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I was
do
just
as well.
I was reflecting as you said that, and like, yeah, I do, like, whether that be like verbally or message them, and you know, but I
Yeah.
have just been thinking I'd like to do that more often.
Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't. I must admit, I don't do it freely. Only do it with the people that I really mean it. I'd want to be
Yeah.
able to look them in the eyes and say, I love you. And it's funny, we went away last weekend with some friends, and obviously Sam and I are a gay couple, and then the others came with us are hetero couples, and they took us away for our 50th. It was like a joint 50th present. And I can look one of my best friends, Alison's husband, her husband Alan, in the eye, and I can say to him, I love you. And I did. I said, I
Yeah.
love you. I said, thanks I've had such an amazing weekend. Thank you. I really love you.
Yes.
And that doesn't feel alien to me whatsoever. Not
Feels
one bit.
good.
And my sister-in-law's husband, Adam, I say, I love you to him.
Yeah.
And I don't ever ask them if they think it's strange. I just say
Yeah.
it. I think I've told Dave I love him a few times, Lauren, to be honest. So, yeah.
And no alcohol involved either.
No, God, no, I don't need that. No.
But that's the bit about giving.
Great
That's
question,
lovely
though.
though. Yeah.
It feels so good to tell someone that is beyond your, if you've got a partner, that you love them and that genuine love.
Yeah.
That feels
Laura,
good.
what a beautiful way into Giver's Gain.
Oh,
Did you plan that?
segued in nicely.
What a beautiful segue, isn't it? It's a beautiful segue, Giver's Gain. And it's funny, actually, isn't it? Because I do gain quite a lot from doing that. I suppose there is something that happens when you do that. It's like that real felt sense and that sort of feeling, emotional tone of connection, which I find hugely, hugely important in my life. Hence why we're sitting here today, girls. Yeah, so let's move on to that, shall we? Thank you. I think, firstly, just thanks for your honesty and vulnerability in that sharing. I think that was amazing. It's never easy to do. But yeah, let's talk a bit about the theme of International Women's Day, Givers Gain. What do we think about this theme? When we look at the context of it, it's essentially centered around do we have or do we believe? So have we had opportunities where we've collaborated, worked with others, particularly women, I guess be useful for this conversation, where we've felt that, but in doing so and in being able to give, that there's been something that we've got back and what that might have been like for us. And I don't find it easy to say that. And maybe if we get the opportunity, I'll talk about why, because that doesn't ever sit comfortably with me, the whole concept of, or the idea of, if I give out, I'm going to get back. But that's maybe a slightly different story. But yeah, what are the views? What are the experiences like from you three? What's happened for you?
It kind of reminds me a bit of what you've just said, Steph. It brought back a memory of when I used to watch Friends and Phoebe was trying to find an unselfish good deed.
I was talking about that today. I was actually talking about that today.
Because you're right. We don't. I think the majority of the time, I don't think I've ever I've thought, oh, I'm going to do that for someone in order to get that back. I'd like to think that I didn't. So, but actually, the majority of the time, even good deeds that we do, other people, however big they are, wherever they sit on the scale, there's something that comes back, isn't there? It's unavoidable, but whether that just be like a lovely feeling that you get for having helped someone and doing the kind of, holding open the door in the supermarket or whatever that be. But yeah. Oh, shall I share mine? Shall I start?
Love that. Why not?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
go for it.
Like I was thinking about this and trying to think of, I wanted to find something, like really significant. But then actually I realised that we're lucky enough to kind of have opportunities of doing this quite regularly. I was privileged. I worked with girls. I worked at a girls' school for 11 years. So actually really relevant to International Women's Day, and kind of, I got to grips with kind of the struggles that teenagers have. Really, this is secondary school, so kind of like that real sort of crisis of confidence and like everything that kind of comes along with puberty, and just that, and it can be crushing at times, can't it, going through that age, and kind of you see it and it's heartbreaking at times, like just and like you said, Steph, you want to say to them, like, put yourself out there. I used to try and teach, like, do something that scares you every day, do something little that scares you, like go and speak to that person, or go and whatever it is, because everyone's got their own thing, haven't they, that they don't like doing. So but then, in order to be a bit more specific, sorry, I again was lucky enough to lead some expeditions, some international expeditions that involved community projects. So I took a group of girls with three separate occasions. We went to India and worked at a school there, just a kind of rural primary school. And these, and it was, I'm looking at it from two perspectives, because what the students gained from it, but the ones that I took as well,
Yeah.
because these are just girls that they were a bit privileged, I'll say that, but they hadn't had the opportunity to really literally get their hands dirty, and they were kind of smashing plaster off walls in order to rebuild this classroom for these kids, and then the other half of them were sort of digging this massive hole to bury the plastering, because we couldn't afford to get it taken away, and it was just in order to give these kids a nice classroom, so that they could sit and do their lessons, which they hadn't been able to do. So real basic stuff, that they were facilitating, and what it gave them afterwards, that it was just this kind of, wow, look what I've done, look what I've been able to give, and to see that transformation in them over the course of the week. And then we did the same in Cambodia and Costa Rica. So deliberately working in countries that are less economically developed, and we're able to kind of give a bit back. But yeah, for me, it was enabling them to do that for other people, gave me a real kind of, well, it was, yeah, I was fortunate to be able to do that, because it was nice to see that journey in them, and that they're always remember that for their entire life. That will stay with them, and that was special.
Yeah, as will you, I suppose. There's a real sense of achievement in that, isn't there? In terms
Definitely.
of
Well, we're like
leading
10 years
that, and
on,
then
and
exactly.
and I'm still
They'll
talking
never
about
forget
it.
that, and they'll never
No,
forget that. No. No, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Claire, for sharing that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because being able to give is a privilege. And, my background and my career has always been in the adult care sector.
Yeah.
And there's always been this thing about, if you are in the care sector, you need to question why, as in, because as we've seen in terms of documented panorama and discoveries and all sorts, the sector can attract people for their own motivations, and some of those are abusive. Some of those are very kind of power, ego driven, to lord over people that are more vulnerable than us. So there's always been this sense of me is what motivates me, to want to do something, and what do I get from it? And I've never done anything, and I think I do a lot. I've never done anything, whether that's been in a paid role or a volunteer role, where I haven't got back equally.
Oh.
Selfless giving is what you hear the term, don't you? There's absolutely nothing selfless. It's the person or people or situation that's benefiting from you giving your assets, your skills, your money, your time, your knowledge, whatever that is, or sometimes your presence, is really valid, but you do get it back tenfold. My heart feels full when I'm able to do something. And it's funny because I was in a supermarket a couple of months ago, and it was late at night. It was like 9:30 at night. The supermarket was closing at 10 o'clock. This young mum was in front of me. She was juggling three children. The kids, you're thinking, God, you're out at like 9. I was yawning my head off having to spend the day and the food that she's putting through is kind of, at the lower end of being able to purchase. And you can see it's bulk buying and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, invariably, she gets to the point at which she's paying, and lo and behold, there's a whole host of food that is, and she's obviously been stressed, and the kids are little, and I stood behind her, kind of watching, and again, love children, so any opportunity to pull faces at kids and smile, but she didn't have enough money, so she started to put stuff back. I went and paid for the remainder of the food, which came to about, I don't know, about 20 quid. And it was really sweet that the young boy, he was about 8 or 9, said, "Hey, mummy, so there are good people in the world."
Oh.
And she said, "There absolutely is." Now, that is nothing to me. I did nothing. I literally did nothing. That
Mm,
£20 was neither here nor there. I haven't got lots of money, but I didn't miss that £20. It didn't deplete my quality of life in a heartbeat. So people might say, "Oh, isn't that incredible, Laura, that you did that? Isn't that wonderful?" Actually, no, I walked away and I felt relieved that what she needed to have for the week, she could have. It did, I got a massive sense of uh, reassurance, about paying it forward. I don't
mm,
know her life. I've been privileged in terms of education, in terms of a stable childhood, loving parents. I've done nothing for that. But we
mm,
do talk about, like, those of us that can give have somehow earned that right to give, and I've done nothing. So I think it's really interesting, the whole narrative about giving,
mm.
that people think, that we should be on the pedestal. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Because for me, you should be. If you
Yeah.
can, you should be. It
Mm,
shouldn't be, "Oh, aren't you great?" It absolutely shouldn't be. That's
mm.
like 3 Costa coffees.
Do you know what though, Laura?
Mm.
I read somewhere just a couple of weeks ago, and do you know what? I struggle with holding stuff in my brain, menopause brain and all that. But this will never leave me. I read a line in a book that said kindness and compassion is now I'm going to show myself up, I can't remember it. Kindness, no, kindness and compassion is long lasting and far reaching.
Absolutely.
And I think that is such a true statement because for two reasons, right? Your story and Claire's long lasting in that Claire's talking about hers 10 years later, but reliving it like it happened yesterday, right?
Mm.
Long lasting. The far reaching is not only the children that you took to do the work that they did from the UK, but the families and the children that were affected,
Yeah.
far reaching. And in your case, Laura, your example, long lasting and far reaching will be the people that were involved in that little moment, right? That
Mm.
family will tell that story. You'll never guess what happened to me today at the
Mm.
supermarket. Didn't have
Mm.
enough money. I was 20 quid short. This woman only reached over and paid for the rest of it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. That's the sort of
Yeah.
thing you see on Instagram, but I never thought it'd happen to me. That
What's
is long lasting and far reaching because
Yeah.
one day that family, something could shift and they will pay that forward. It will be far reaching for
Well, the
sure.
point is that 8 or 9 year old little boy that said, "Oh, mummy, so there are nice
Yeah,
people in the
exactly.
world," for me reinforced that what he hasn't had a lot of. And for me, he's gone away knowing that there's good people in the world,
Beautiful, isn't it?
then incredible,
Absolutely beautiful.
So,
Yeah.
who's the hero there? The mum that's juggling 3 children that should be at home at 9:30, but actually she's got to because she's probably already done 2 jobs today and she's had to drag them out to the supermarket because she hasn't got anyone else to, I'm not the hero, she is, isn't she?
Yeah, it's
So
beautiful.
it's reframing that, and so yeah, we gain a lot by doing for
Mm,
others.
yeah.
I feel
Thank
like
you,
you
Laura,
guys
for
have got
sharing
some
that.
really good life experiences, and mine are not on par with
Not
this
at
at all.
all. Not at all. We're just all unique in
Got the
different
Yeah, no,
ways,
wrinkles,
Lauren.
Lauren, on
it's
the
really
age,
no,
the
yeah,
age
no.
difference.
You've got incredible stories. No, this has been really lovely to do this and listen to the stories. I feel like for mine, yeah, my kind of giver's gain is very much from like a business perspective. So but it's more based around community, and I
Mm,
think it's something that I've gained unintentionally, but I'm really thriving in this kind of community that I've built. So to start with, it kind of came from a place of the term like projection. So when you're doing something good for yourself or you're working on yourself, there are comments, and people don't necessarily like it, and it's normally comes from a place of because they're not doing it, essentially.
yes,
um
always.
and I speak to so many women like this, or it's like an office environment culture seems to be quite big on this type of thing. So yeah, a lot of women I speak to feel quite lonely if they're on kind of like a journey to kind of better themselves. And again, I talk obviously a lot about fitness because that's what I do. But I kind of obviously done fitness, and then I've stemmed in the last year into a community which is called like the Sisterhood. So I host these events, and what they've started off for the last year, really simple. We go down to the beach in Folkestone, and we do a 20-minute workout, 20 minutes of yoga, and we all jump in the sea afterwards. Now, going in the sea, I mean, I know it's something you do, Steph, and again, this is why my dad is like, yeah, you and Steph will be so great. But yeah, it's something that I've always kind of done, and I've loved it, like the cold therapy and just getting in the sea and that feeling it gives you. And it sounds so small and silly, but so many people would message me and say, God, I would never go in the sea. I would never do that in England. God, how do you do that in winter? That's amazing. And I thought, why are people not doing this? And it's they're scared to do it. And to me, I'm like, this is so fun. It makes me feel so good. Why would people not do this? So yeah, so I've started this little community where they do it. And I mean, selfishly, like obviously they pay for the privilege. So from a business perspective, I'm gaining there. But also I'm giving, there's a community, and these women afterwards, like they feel so good. And then for me, it's so nice because I can now, share or talk about what I do with my kind of health and fitness life and not feel like I'm being judged, or people are going to be like, oh, you're allowed to eat that. Oh, why are you doing that? And, these comments, and I've created this nice little community. So I think that's a really good example of givers gain. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a
I'm
beautiful
giving back.
example.
Yeah. And I am getting back. And yeah, it's great. I love it.
I think it's brilliant. I mean, I've been watching what you're doing around that, and I think we just reference it again, if that's all right. So Lauren Lugg runs a community called the Sisterhood. So if you're watching this and you want to look it up, it's on Instagram. Want to just give the handle, Lauren, because I think it's definitely worth
Yeah,
lots of women knowing about, particularly if they're in the Kent area. Or I know you're up at
yeah.
Seven Sisters, aren't you, in March?
Well,
So
yeah, we're trying to branch it off this year and do bigger things, bigger
yeah,
different places,
yeah,
basically. But yeah, again, it's my passion for being outdoors, the same as you, Steph. I love, hiking and doing all these kind of outdoor activities. And
yeah,
again, I'll post it on Instagram and people be like, wow, this looks so good, or where is this? Or I'd love to do
yeah,
this. And I'm
yeah.
why are you not doing it?
It's
So
free.
I'm
It's called the
yeah,
outdoors.
I
Yeah,
don't I
Yeah.
people so
yeah,
many people don't do things like this. And
yeah.
honestly, the amount of people that contact me and say, wow, where is this? Or how have you got the balls to do this? And I think,
Mm, mm.
yeah, so that's kind of where it stemmed from. It's like, okay, I'm going to create this community and this opportunity for people to, yeah. And basically the tagline is, stop saying one day and make it today, because you do say, oh yeah, I'm going to
That's
do that one
lovely.
day, and you never put it in the diary. So that's basically where it stems from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we are sisterhood underscore
We are
we are
Sisterhood.
sisterhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a white logo with pink, isn't it? So
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
so when
yes.
people find that, and Lauren Lugg. Yeah, and you know what? I have to say as well, there's something about taking the type of work that you do and broadening it out into that community space. It's not easy,
No.
and the fact that you're doing that, and I will just say this as well. I say to every man and woman that I meet that are trying something new and they're nervous, the first thing I say, don't forget you're doing it. So when people look at you and say, "Oh, I couldn't do that," or "Why are you doing that? That's a bit daft," or "That won't work," the first thing you need to think is, "Yeah, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Hmm.
I'm out there and I'm trying it and I'm giving it a go." So whether it's losing weight, getting healthy, trying to run a marathon, learning to knit, singing on stage, going in
Yeah.
the cold water, you're doing it. You're owning it, right? And that's really, really important. I think is for people to remember it, to stand in their power. They're doing it. So, and all credit to you, Lauren, for trying that and really, trying to create a community, because that's what life's all about. Life is about being with people. Common humanity and connection is what is what life is all about. And when people can really feel that and sense that and understand that, I think it makes life so much richer. It really
Mm.
does. So good for you. Good for you for
Thanks
giving
very
it a go.
much.
I think
Yeah.
it's what we're all kind of sharing is around that the power of compassion, aren't we?
Mm.
And at the moment, on a global political scale, it feels, I mean, the term toxic masculinity doesn't even begin to touch the sides of what we're experiencing, driven by men who are not interested in kindness and compassion and empathy.
Mm.
And the current American Department of War, it'd be wonderful if we had a Department of Compassion,
Mm.
wouldn't we?
Mm.
In terms of what creates happiness and togetherness and community, like Claire and Lauren, you've talked about at different parts of the world. on a micro and macro level. And I think that's what International Women's Day is all about, isn't it? It's bringing what is natural to us as women. I think what's really interesting or important is that those boundaries, because we don't have a problem, do we? Women don't have a problem in giving. We do have a problem in protecting ourselves and not over giving to the point of exhaustion or personal detriment. Maybe that's a future theme for International Women's Day, how we can give and be compassionate whilst looking after ourselves at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. What a way to finish, Laura. Thank you so much. And if anybody from International Women's Day is watching this, you heard it here first. There's your next idea. Nurturing self-compassion as well as offering compassion to others. Yeah. Thanks so much for finishing us off that way, Laura. I think that was a really great place to pause. I just want to say thanks to Laura, thanks to Claire, thanks to Lauren. Happy International Women's Day for 2026, everybody. And we really hope that you enjoyed this one-off podcast. Thanks for being
thanks
here.
for you,
Happy
Steph, for having
International
us.
Day.
And
Yeah, you're
organising
so
it.
welcome. So welcome.